From more than 400 miles above Earth, NASA is tracking some of the Earth's smallest life forms floating just beneath the ocean's surface in an effort to monitor how warming affects ocean health. The mission involves the space agency's newest Earth-observing satellite called PACE. And joining us now to talk about the initiative is one of the scientists involved in the project. Oceanographer at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center and project scientist Dr. Jeremy Werdell. Dr. Werdell, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. First off, just tell us, what does PACE stand for and what is the mission of PACE all about?
Okay, so PACE is an acronym for Plankton, Aerosol, Cloud, and Ocean Ecosystem. So not super clever, but at the same time, it indicates that we are an Earth science mission. And I realize when you think of NASA, you don't always think of their science, but there's a fleet of Earth-observing satellites, and PACE is the latest investment, super advanced for the combined study of our oceans and our atmosphere. We make the invisible visible with this series of instruments.
Beautiful. Now, what is the satellite observing and how does it all work?
So the instruments operate a lot like your eyes do for color, where they take images of color and convert that into some metric of biology. And so in the case of oceans, and I'm an oceanographer, so it starts there, we look at the color of the ocean to better understand what is in there. And the invisible, in this case, are phytoplankton. And
Doctor, what can you tell us about phytoplankton and how it affects our climate?
So the beauty of a mission like this and the study of phytoplankton is they really are important to not just our everyday lives, but our generational, multi-year, multi-decadal lives. On various timescales, if you're thinking super short term, even if you're not in view of the ocean, our oceans are incredibly important. Phytoplankton feed our bellies, they feed our economy, recreation. Sometimes there are phytoplankton out there that are harmful and will close beaches or contaminate drinking water. So it's really, really important to understand where they are and what communities are there. And then when you think longer term, the ocean and the atmosphere are completely interconnected, and what happens in the atmosphere can influence the ocean and vice versa. And so where phytoplankton come in is they can not only influence creations of clouds, which can warm and cool or reflect light and warm the atmosphere, but they also move carbon around. So their distributions are incredibly important to really understand all of the aspects of our changing planet.
Talk to us about where you might see NASA taking this in the future.
Oh, that's a great question. There is a lot to think about in terms of interconnectedness. So it would be really amazing for the discovery that PACE will offer for all walks of life to be hopefully institutionalized to long-term monitoring in multiple missions. But NASA would also invest in other ways of viewing the ocean that complement PACE as well.
This really is fascinating stuff. Dr. Jeremy Werdell, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Really appreciate the interest.